Okay, let's unpack this because we really need to start with a massive contradiction today.
Oh yeah, it's a huge one.
Right. It's this huge, glaring paradox that is sitting right at the heart of the whole Web3 world. And honestly, once you see it, you really can't unsee it.
It is one of those contradictions that actually explains a lot about the industry, though, isn't it?
Exactly. So for you listening, here's the setup. We have this entire industry built around decentralization. We talk about trustless protocols, and we talk about remote-first teams and living on the blockchain.
Basically escaping the physical constraints of the legacy world.
Right, escaping all that. It's the ultimate digital nomad dream, right? Everything is just up in the cloud.
That's the ethos anyway. Code is law, and the code lives everywhere and nowhere at the exact same time.
But here's the twist that our sources dive into today. This industry, perhaps more than any other tech sector, is heavily, and I mean heavily, dependent on people meeting in meet space.
In real life.
In real life, which is wild.
That is the ultimate irony. Despite all the sophisticated protocols and the whole digital-first ethos, trust is still biological. It happens face to face. You can write these brilliant smart contracts that execute without human intervention, but you cannot build an actual movement without human connection.
Right, completely agree. But here's the problem that our source material highlights today. Until very recently, actually, finding those face-to-face moments, finding the where and the when, was just a total mess.
The sources call it fragmented discovery.
Which is a very, very polite way of saying it was total chaos.
Chaos is definitely the right word.
I mean, think about it right now. If you've ever tried to navigate a crypto week in a major city, whether it's ETH Denver or Token 2049 or whatever, you know this pain.
Absolutely.
It was like trying to find a secret party where the invite was just whispered in a crowded room and never actually written down anywhere.
And that's exactly the core problem. The industry was heavily relying on this if you know mentality.
The Insider Club.
Right. You had Discord servers and Telegram groups and random Twitter threads and endless Luma invites.
Just signals scattered everywhere.
Everywhere. And the result isn't just frustration for the user. It's actually massive inefficiency for the whole space.
The sources call this missed opportunity cost, which sounds like typical business jargon, but it's actually very real.
It's incredibly real. Because in an industry that moves as fast as Web3, where a whole narrative can change in a week, missing a connection isn't just about missing a free drink at some mixer. It's about missing the next wave of innovation entirely. It's missing the co-founder who was literally sitting 2 blocks away from you, but you didn't know they were there because you were in the right specific Telegram chat.
Precisely. So that brings us to the solution we are analyzing today, which is Web3 Voyager. Now, I want to be the skeptic for just a second here. Go for it. On the surface, you might look at this and say, okay, great, it's a calendar. We have calendars. Google has a calendar. But the source material is super adamant about this. This is not just a calendar.
No, not at all.
It's described as a mat and a home for all Web3 events.
And the distinction there is really important. A calendar is passive. It just lists dates and times.
Right.
A map, on the other hand, gives you orientation. It tells you where you are in the ecosystem. It provides actual context.
And we aren't just talking about the big flashy conferences with the $500 tickets either.
No, and that's a crucial point. This platform covers the entire spectrum, from the massive international summits with thousands of people to the tiny local coffee meetups where 5 developers are just arguing about ZK rollups.
So Our mission for this deep dive is to explore exactly how this platform solves that massive discovery problem. But we are going to go a step further too.
We are going to look at how it creates what the material calls a collaborative growth model.
Which sounds fancy, but it's actually the key insight here.
It really is. It's about seamlessly connecting the code people, right? The community that supports it and the capital that funds it all in one flow.
So let's rewind a bit. Let's go to the origin story, because one thing that really stood out to me in the reading is who actually built this?
Yeah, this wasn't some corporate rollout.
No, not at all. It wasn't some Web2 conglomerate trying to pivot or just capitalize on a trend. Web3 Voyager was built by the builders.
By the users, for the users.
Exactly. The source material emphasizes that these are people who know the specific pain points of the industry because they literally lived them.
That built by users mentality is often a total cliche in tech.
Exactly.
But here it seems quite literal.
Totally literal. The source paints this really vivid picture of the user experience they were trying to solve. It talks about the anxiety of the builder.
Let's unpack that anxiety a bit.
Well, it talks about knowing exactly what it's like to fly halfway across the world for a conference.
Which is a huge commitment. I mean, if you are an indie developer or a small founder, a trip to Lisbon or Singapore is a massive chunk of your runway. Oh, absolutely. It's your time, it's your money, and it's your energy.
Right. You take that massive risk because you are betting that one single interaction could change the entire trajectory of your project.
Or the experience of meeting a co-founder over coffee at a totally random crypto meetup.
That serendipity is key. And my absolute favorite example from the text is the anxiety of submitting a hackathon project minutes before the deadline.
Oh man, the 3 a.m. Red Bull energy.
I felt that one in my soul. Just absolute panic.
The panic is universal in this space.
But the point is, the people behind Web3 Voyager have been in that panic. They've been in that coffee shop hoping a VC walks in. So the goal wasn't just, let's list events to sell more tickets.
Right. The goal was to make it easy to find the next meaningful conversation. And I think that phrasing is super significant.
Meaningful conversation.
Yeah, they aren't just optimizing for sheer attendance numbers. They are optimizing for actual connections.
And allowing organizers to tell the full story of the event too. Not just the where and the when, but the why.
Which is so often missing. Usually you just get a location pin and a time.
Right. A blank Luma page.
Exactly. But in Web3, the why dictates the crowd. Is this a highly technical workshop on account abstraction? Or is it a networking mixer for NFT artists?
Huge difference in crowd.
Massive difference. If you don't communicate the soul of the event, you get the wrong people in the room and you basically waste everyone's time.
Let's pause on that concept for a second. The soul of the event and pivot to the core philosophy here. Why do we need this map in the first place?
Why is IRL so critical?
Exactly. Why is it in real life so critical in Web3? The source material has this great line. It says Web3 events are where code meets community, and ideas move from theory into something tangible.
That is such a powerful distinction. Theory happens on Twitter or Discord. It's completely abstract. You can read a white paper and sure, it makes sense intellectually.
But tangibility?
Tangibility happens in a room.
Why do you think that is, though? Is it just about seeing that the dev team actually represents real, breathing people?
Partially, yeah, building trust, but it's also about bandwidth.
Bandwidth? Like communication bandwidth?
Exactly. Online communication is notoriously low bandwidth. You miss tone, you miss hesitation, you miss genuine excitement. When you are in a physical room, you get the full signal. The sources mention the hallway track.
The hallway track. I love this concept so much. For anyone listening who hasn't heard this term, break it down.
It's basically the unwritten agenda. The official agenda has the polished panels and the keynotes, but the hallway track is what happens in the corridors.
The coffee lines.
The coffee lines, the beanbag chairs outside the main stage. The source actually notes that hackathons are often the starting point for foundational protocols, but the partnerships that make those protocols viable.
Those happen in the hallway.
Exactly. The text explicitly says, partnerships often begin in hallway conversations that were never recorded or live tweeted.
That is the crucial gap in the digital-only mindset. If you aren't in the hallway, you simply aren't part of the conversation.
Right. You can't live stream a handshake or a shared realization between two founders that they're actually trying to solve the exact same problem.
In grants, too. The source points out that grants are often announced in crowded workshops, not just neatly posted on websites.
Right. A foundation representative might just say, hey, we're really looking for someone to build X, and we have funding for it right now in a super casual setting.
And if you aren't in the room?
If you are in the room, you don't hear the alpha.
That's where the fragmented discovery problem is so deeply damaging. If those hallway conversations are where the actual magic happens, but you don't know where the hallway even is,
you're just out of luck.
You are structurally excluded from the opportunity simply because the information wasn't accessible to you.
Exactly. So Web3 Voyager flips that entirely. It puts discovery first. It basically says, look, here are all the hallways. Now choose which one you need to be in.
It democratizes access to the hallway track.
That's a great way to put it.
So let's look at the actual mechanics of this. How does it work under the hood? Because they describe a dual-sided solution.
Right. Side one is for the user, the builder, the learner, the investor.
And the design philosophy here, according to the text, is intuition. Because the Web3 space is incredibly broad.
Extremely broad. You have DeFi, you have NFTs, DAOs, layer 1s, layer 2s, privacy tech. It's a massive, sprawling ecosystem.
So a general list of just crypto events is basically useless.
Completely useless. If you are a hardcore Solidity developer, you are looking specifically for a technical hackathon. You don't care at all about a purely social mixer.
Or if you're a founder, you might be looking exclusively for investor pitch event.
Right, or if you represent a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, you're really looking to grow your specific ecosystem.
And the platform provides that context filter. You can search by location, by theme, or by format.
So instead of doom scrolling through endless Twitter feeds hoping to spot a flyer, you just filter and find exactly what you need.
But I want to challenge this just a bit. Discovery platforms have existed before. Meetup.com exists. Eventbrite exists. Why didn't they work for Web3?
Because they are generalist tools. They don't understand the nuance of this specific community. But more importantly, they don't solve the organizer's problem in this niche.
The organizer's problem.
Yeah, and this is where the expert side of me really got interested in the technical insight regarding visibility.
Ah, yes. The durable visibility concept from the reading.
Yes, this is a massive differentiator. Think about how most Web3 events are promoted today.
It's social media. It's almost entirely social media.
You post a tweet, maybe a LinkedIn update, and what is the actual lifespan of a tweet?
Minutes, maybe. Hours, if you're incredibly lucky and hit the algorithm right.
Exactly. It gets engagement for 24 hours, maybe 48 if it goes viral, and then it just vanishes into the algorithmic void. It is completely ephemeral.
If I miss the tweet, I miss the event.
Right. And searching for a specific tweet from 3 days ago about a meetup is an absolute nightmare.
They're gone. You're never finding it.
So Web3 Voyager takes a completely different approach. They create dedicated, search-optimized pages for every single event.
Meaning traditional SEO.
SEO, yes, but also highly structured data. This creates a permanent resource. These pages surface in search engines like Google, but, and this is increasingly important today, they surface in AI tools.
Oh, that's huge. I didn't even think about the AI angle when I first read it.
You have to think about it now. More and more people are using tools like Perplexity or ChatGPT to search rather than standard Google.
Right. They ask prompt-style questions.
Exactly. They ask, find me crypto events in Lisbon next week, focused specifically on zero-knowledge proofs.
And if your event is just a JPEG flyer posted on Twitter, the AI can't read that context.
Exactly. It's completely invisible to the machine. But because Web3 Voyager pages are structured and optimized text, the AI can find them, index them, and serve them up as answers.
That is incredible. It means people find the event because they are actively looking for it, not just because they happen to be online when you hit post.
That's the durable visibility. It works for you while you sleep.
Precisely. And the best part, according to the sources,
That's free?
it's free. That really stood out to me. Posting an event costs absolutely nothing. And the source emphasizes that this will always be the case.
Which perfectly aligns with that open discovery mission we talked about. They aren't gatekeeping visibility behind some source paywall.
Right. Because if you put a paywall in front of listing an event, you immediately cut out the grassroots meetups.
The student clubs, the small DAOs, the indie devs. You end up only with massive corporate conferences that have marketing budgets.
By keeping it free, they ensure the map actually represents the whole territory.
Exactly.
And beyond the logistics, there's that storytelling aspect we touched on earlier. Organizers can really share the soul of the event.
Right. They can upload cover images, they can show past editions, list speakers and sponsors. It gives the community's vision a permanent place to live.
It transforms a basic calendar invite into a compelling narrative. Yes, so we've got the map. We've got the builders finding the events via AI and search. We've got organizers getting durable visibility. But the sources reveal a next layer to this platform that I think is the real game changer.
The bridge.
Yes, the bridge. This is where we move from just hanging out to actually building something real.
You were talking about the connection to funding.
Exactly. This was my absolute aha moment reading the material. Because, let's be honest, a lot of people go to events, they get super hyped, they drink the free coffee, and then they go home and do absolutely nothing.
The inspiration gap. It's a known problem.
It's huge. It's not just about showing up. It's about what happens after you leave the venue.
This is exactly that bridge, from inspiration to execution. The source outlines a very specific, ideal flow for a builder on this platform.
Walk us through that journey. What does that look like?
Okay, so step 1. You attend an event. You are there in the hallway or you're hacking away at the hackathon. You meet people. You see the tech. You get inspired. Step 2. In that environment, you spot a problem worth solving.
Classic innovation trigger. You look at something and go, hey, this wallet UI is terrible. I can fix this.
Right. But usually that's exactly where the story stops. You go home, your day job calls, reality sets in, and the idea just dies.
The momentum vanishes.
But Web3 Voyager introduces step 3. Find a grant that turns that weekend work into something sustainable.
This is the funding hub or grants directory mentioned in the text.
Correct. The aim is to ensure that hackathons and summits don't just stop at demo day.
That demo day, Cliff, is so real. I've seen it a dozen times. You build something cool, everyone claps, you maybe win $500 in tokens, and then silence. Total silence.
It is a massive inefficiency in the ecosystem. Great ideas die simply because the path to sustainability is completely unclear to the builder. By integrating funding opportunities directly into the discovery platform, they're trying to fix that broken loop.
So practically speaking, if I'm looking at a hackathon listing on Web3 Voyager, I might also see links to relevant funding programs right there.
Exactly. The events are linked directly to the means of survival. If you are at a hackathon sponsored by, say, the Optimism Collective or the Ethereum Foundation, the platform can link you directly to their active grant applications.
That is such a smart evolution of the model. It creates this perfect loop. You go to the event, you find the idea, you find the funding, you build the project, and then you are the one presenting at the next event.
Which brings us perfectly to the collaborative growth model the text talks about.
Yes, let's really dive into this model, because the platform isn't static. It's not like they printed a map in 2024 and said, "Here you go, guys, good luck."
No, it's constantly evolving. The source material describes a feedback loop. The platform grows alongside the communities it serves.
So how does that actually scale, though? If Web3 is exploding globally, which it definitely is, how do they keep the map accurate? A centralized team sitting in one office can't possibly track every coffee meetup in Lagos or Buenos Aires.
Decentralized input, essentially. Local organizers submit their own events via self-serve forms.
So the community populates the map themselves.
Yes, but with a crucial layer of verified listings to maintain quality control. This is vital.
Because of spam.
Exactly. If the data is bad, if the events are scams or they get cancelled without updates, the map becomes useless. So you have community submission plus verification.
That makes sense. But as new cities pop up, say a huge dev hub in Lagos or a new DAO in Buenos Aires, the locals are the ones updating the map.
And that creates the ecosystem effect. Event creators desperately want that free global exposure and that SEO juice we talked about. So they list their events.
And communities use the map to find spaces to connect.
And builders use it to find opportunities matching their skills.
It's a total flywheel. The more people use it, the better the map gets. And the better the map gets, the more people use it.
And the expert in me really appreciates how the creators characterize the result of this flywheel. They don't just call it a software product. They call it a living record.
A living record of what the decentralized world is actually doing.
Week by week, city by city, it is documenting the industry's pulse in real time. If you look at the map, you can actually see where the energy is physically moving.
You can spot the trends.
You can look and say, oh, there are 20 meetups popping up in Berlin this month. Something big is happening there.
It's really, really fascinating when you zoom out and look at it that way. We started this conversation with the idea of fragmented discovery.
Chaos, missed connections, invisible hallways.
Right, and we're ending with a living, breathing record of an entire global movement.
It is a profound shift for the space. We moved from these tight information silos where you had to know the right person just to get the invite,
to an open ecosystem where information flows freely.
And history shows that when information flows freely, innovation dramatically accelerates.
So let's bring this home for you listening today. Whether you are deep in the code running a node or just watching from the sidelines, what does this all actually mean for you?
Well, if we connect this to the much bigger picture, Web3 Voyager is effectively building a historical archive.
That's a really provocative thought. A history book, essentially.
Think about it. We are still in the very early days of this technology. Every single event listed, every project started at those events, every grant connected. It adds a permanent data point to this map.
They are mapping the history of the decentralized web as it happens.
Exactly. We aren't just looking for a party next Tuesday. We're looking at the evolution of the industry. 10 years from now, you could look back at this data and see exactly where the pivotal conversations happen.
You could trace the lineage of a major foundational protocol all the way back to a specific Tuesday meetup in 2024.
Yes, it's all mapped.
So here is the call to action straight from the source material. If you are an organizer, whether it's a massive global conference or just a tiny meetup in a basement somewhere, list it.
It is absolutely the best way to reach the builders who are actively looking for you. Don't rely on the social media algorithm to save you. Put yourself on the map where the AI and the search engines can actually find you.
And for the learners, the builders, the curious, start with the calendar. Don't just read about Web3 on your screen. Go out and meet the people actually building it.
Follow the communities. Look for the grants. Find that next meaningful conversation.
Because you really never know. The next foundational protocol or the next big partnership might just start with you in a hallway conversation you found on the map.
It all starts with knowing where to look.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive today.
Always a pleasure.